Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Drifting Pen podcast for voice-guided Zentangle classes. My name is Karen, and thanks for joining me today. For this episode, I'd like to create a drawing simply based on Zentangle's method of ICSO, I-C-S-O, and these letters encompass all the basic strokes we need to create Zentangle art. And this can be used just as a warm-up piece or simply practicing drawing lines, and you can make it into a beautiful piece of art if you like, whatever you want. So let's get started. Grab a tile or a small piece of paper, a pen, and a pencil and blending stump if you want to shade later on. Place your tile in front of you, and let's just take a slow breath of gratitude before we start. Okay, so we'll move through the strokes one at a time, and remember there's no right way, there's no wrong way. Your result is what your pen puts on the paper. So the first prompt we'll use are dots. We're going to make dots, and the dots are represented in the lowercase I of ICSO. So take your pen and add a bunch of dots to your tile. Add them wherever. They can be scattered, they can be close together. Just add a bunch of dots, and they can have some space between them. We're going to use them in our next prompt. But it probably shouldn't take too long to put some dots there. And you can always add more dots later. The next part of ICSO is the bar part of the lowercase letter I, and that's representing straight lines. Go ahead and find two dots and connect them with a straight line. And continue adding straight lines from dot to dot. You can even experiment with how you're drawing that line. Maybe you can practice being super feather light with the pen. Maybe you can pick the pen up a little bit in between your lines, creating broken lines. And you can even practice changing the weight of the line. Now the next line to practice drawing are the C lines. These represent curved lines. We draw curved lines in Zentangle. So now we're going to use our dots as beginning and end points, and we're going to connect them, but use a curved line. And now you can draw a broad curve or a narrow curve, a short curve or a long curve. You can practice all of them. And they can cross over. Maybe they even start to create a shape depending on your, how your dots are laid over your tile. And the last letter in ICSO is O, and that represents orbs. And here we can draw orbs. The word orbs is used instead of circles to imply that the orbs are not perfect. When we think of a circle, we might think, oh, we need to draw a perfect circle. It's not exactly a circle. If you use the word orb, it doesn't have to feel like it needs to be perfect. So your orb can also not only be a circle, but it could be an oval. The orbs can be small or big. You can practice with the sizes. You can also practice orring a dot by drawing an orb around a dot. You can also connect the dots by creating an orb. Or maybe you don't want to have those dots on your paper anymore if you have some left over, and you can just draw over them, make them part of the line of the orb. And that's it for practicing the lines. That's all it takes. From here, if you like, you can now integrate some tangles. For instance, I think I'll use a crescent moon. I see a few straight lines on my tile where I think I'm going to add a series of crescent moon. It'll look good. Maybe I'll move it or let it grow to another line as well. Maybe you've created a shape on your tile that can be filled in. So you can use any filler tangle that you'd like there. You can use, I don't know, I see one on my tile that I could use a paradox, or even just plain tipple if you want to keep practicing those orbs and integrate those orbs into a filler tangle with tipple. So go ahead and just let your pen drift over your tile, let it be what it's going to be, and if you like later, you can even shade it. So thanks again for joining me today, and as always, I'd love to see what you come up with, and tag me on social media at Drifting Pen, and I'm wishing you a wonderful day.